Welcome to the UK Gravel Collective Cycling Podcast, and I'll freely admit that this is the second attempt at this because of some idiot messing up with the microphones and not recording out the proper microphone. Ruined everything, so hopefully this one will be just as spontaneous because I think it was quite good. Well, I enjoyed it last time, so
yeah,
perhaps it's the even better second time round, who knows. So tonight I've got two guys in the room. I was going to say in the shed, but we're not in the shed this time. Last time we were in the shed and it was quite cosy and woody, had that woody smell. I'm afraid this is my back bedroom and it might smell a bit of the cat, who's also in the room, but I don't think she's going to
she's quite happy.
join in because she's asleep on top of the radiator. Anyway, so the two guys are Tim and David, and they're here tonight because they have both joined the
Sounds official.
the challenge that is the Dales Divide race. Would you say it's a race? Challenge?
Adventure.
Yeah, any of those will do.
So, admission time, I do ride with these two guys. So I'm sort of interviewing my own friends, but they are sort of inspirational, well, to me, and I think the other people we ride with, because they both do long distance endurance stuff. So yeah, the Dales Divide. So first of all, just introduce yourself really, David and Tim. Tell me why you ride bikes. Why is bikes your hobby? I mean, you might have other hobbies that you keep secret, but I only know you from cycling. So why do you go cycling?
Go on, Tim.
Well, always had a bike when I was growing up. Always rode bikes, BMXs and everything. And then it sort of faded a bit as I got into my 20s. And then I started to get a bad back. And eventually I had to go and see someone. They said, you need to go to Pilates and start cycling. So I started cycling mid-30s again, and it's kind of escalated, and here we are.
Can I be cheeky and ask you how old you are now, Tim?
53. Okay. 54 this year, unfortunately.
Still younger than me.
Yeah, well.
A fine vintage.
Yeah. I still think I'm 30, though. In my mind, until I look in the mirror and there's a wrinkly old man looking back at me.
Yeah. You should throw him out the house though, Tim.
And he keeps following me around.
So I guess I'm kind of similar really. I got a BMX right at the start of the 80s when I was young, and that was my sort of key to adventure really when I was growing up, and it was fantastic. I used to love BMXing, the whole scene, everything about it, and really threw myself into it. And I guess when I got a bit older, I outgrew my BMX, picked it up when I was in my late teens, and then promptly fell off it and bought a road bike.
Yeah.
So a few years later, I guess at university, I bought a mountain bike, and then ever since, for the last 20 or more years, I've just been riding mountain bikes, gravel bikes, still road bikes. But for me, it's just, it's a great head clearer, really. Just
so that's why we can never keep you off a pump track, even on your gravel bike.
You never grow out of playing around on a bike, do you?
Well, I think the day you do, then you might as well just give up.
It always just makes you feel like a kid.
Yeah.
As soon as you get on your bike, it's like, where should we go today?
Yeah, the day you start taking it
feels
seriously,
like
then you might as well hang the wheels up,
Yeah,
I think.
I think you're right.
So, okay, you're both into bikes, but what about endurance riding? Have you done it before? I know you have, Tim, because we sort of met when you... Well, we didn't meet when you were doing the Tour Divide, but we followed you via the shop that I used to work in. Spot tracked you across most of the United States. But I don't know anything about your history with endurance stuff, David.
Not quite as impressive as Tim's, I'm afraid. I've dabbled in a bit of bikepacking, but it's usually only just for 2-3 days maybe. So yeah, I've been around the UK and sort of camped out. Got cold, had some mini adventures, broken the bike, broken myself and things like that, but it's been good fun. And I've just fancied taking on something a bit bigger really to do more of it, so this is a good key
to progress
for me,
to the next stage.
I started ride in Wales, Trans-Cambrian Way. My cousin suggested we do it, and we looked into it, and because all we was doing was mountain biking, trail centres and off-piste stuff, no overnight trips really. So we did it over 3 days, supported 33 miles a day, and we thought we was smashing it out of the park, and it was just really, I really liked it. And then following year did the coast to coast from St Bees to Robin Hood's Bay, and that was supported, and then that sort of opened the floodgates. Then did another coast to coast unsupported the following year, and then that was it.
So what does supported mean?
Your wife follows you in a van,
Okay.
really, and takes the tent to somewhere, and
Yeah.
you find them near the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you only have to take your sandwiches and your bottle of pop with your bag of crisps.
Well, that sounds quite civilised.
Yeah, it was really good because the bikes are really light, but there was so much hiker bike on the coast to coast in the Lake District. It was unbelievable. We just really underestimated the amount of hiker bike there was on the
Black
first
Sail
day.
Pass was
Yeah,
nice.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
one.
did
It's
that, yeah.
absolutely horrendous. It's like, well, where's the path?
Yeah.
There isn't a path. There's just a mountain.
Yeah.
So and then that was it really. Then it was bike packing all the time, as much as I could possibly get, and
So I think we have to mention the Silk Road
Yep.
that you've attempted twice
Yep.
and ended up hospitalised
Last
in
year.
one version.
Yeah. So I did it the year before. Was that 21? Yeah.
So what's the Silk Road?
It's another endurance event in Kyrgyzstan, run by Nelson Trees. He does the Atlas race as well, and he's doing one in Greece this year as well. And it was about 1,800 kilometres with 35,000 metres of climbing. So it's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. Massive distances between resupply, which is rubbish. So it's just pretty tough. So I did it the first year and said, well, I'm not going to do that again. And then
Yeah, I remember you
there were
saying
a series
that. I'm never doing that again.
convoluted events. I ended up back there on my own, but I didn't make it. I did about 700 kilometres, and then drank some nasty water and had to go to hospital and be on a drip all night, which wasn't very nice. So then I scratched, unfortunately.
But it hasn't put you off.
Well, you kind of forget about it once you get better, and you come home and you think, oh, that was great fun, I'm going to do that again. It's just
Roasted
a
specks.
short-term memory loss, I think. I don't know, it's really difficult because it is tough doing these things, physically and mentally, but you sort of almost enjoy it at points and then want to do it again. I don't know.
So what is the Dales Divide? What's the route? I presume it's in the Dales. How far is it?
600.
Just over 600 kilometres.
600 kilometres, 8,500 metres of climbing, or 8 because you wanted to be at an Everest. Starts in Arnside on the west coast in the Dales.
Yeah.
And it goes all through the Yorkshire Dales to York. Then it's the Vale of York to Scarborough. Then back across the North York Moors, North Allerton through North Allerton. Then the Vale of York again, a little bit of that, and then finishes in the Dales again. Big loop.
Yeah.
All the way around. Continuous.
So I'm
So once
guessing.
the clock starts, you're on the clock until you get to the finish line.
So I'm guessing that your wife's not allowed to follow you in the van.
No, you're not allowed any support, any outside assistance in these events. That's not open to everybody. So she'd have to help. She'd have to carry everyone's tent if she came in the van.
Well, knowing your advice, you probably would.
She might do, yeah.
It's supposed to be a level playing field, isn't it? So you can only have or use things that everybody has access to. So no special treatment for anybody in theory.
So you're not allowed to stash anything along the route to pick up.
No.
If you happen to be riding past there the day before.
No, apparently not. No, so take it with you or find somewhere to get it. On
So
the
what
way.
happens if you have a mechanical? Are you allowed to go to a bike shop? Are there any
Yeah.
bike shops?
Yeah, there is some bike shops. Chris, who organises it, he does a really, really thorough job, and he sends the route out about a month before with a massive list of waypoints of shops and bike shops and hotels and pubs and everything you could possibly want. So all you've got to do is look through the route, and there's quite a number of bike shops on the way. Yeah. Whether they're going to be open when you get there, that's a different thing.
Yeah. So it's over is it Easter?
Easter weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Sunday, there's no bike shops are going to be open.
Yeah. It's not as bad as Wales though, is it? Yorkshire,
no.
Where nothing opens on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, especially North Wales.
No. Yeah. So there is potential help if you have a mechanical, but.
So you're as a veteran of ultra distance riding. This is a bit of a breeze for you.
No, it's not a breeze. Everyone thinks that, but it really isn't. It's properly tough. It doesn't matter how many times you do these things; they're properly tough.
We're trying to encourage people, so don't say it's
actually quite easy.
You're potentially going to die in a ditch.
Yeah, but you become more confident in yourself and your abilities because I've done the Dales Divide twice already. The first year it was on, and then the following year. And it's sort of confidence in yourself because you know you can do it. You know how hard you can push and how far you can go, and so it's possible.
So, Dave, what do you think the biggest challenges are going to be for you, having experienced a bike? You're a very fit guy. You've done like local camping and riding, but this is the next step up. So, is there anything special that you're going to do differently, or?
Well, I've done sort of shorter bike packing in both the Dales and the Moors actually, so I'm hoping that I've got a bit of familiarity with the terrain. I think the main thing for me is just to top up my fueling. I think is to get it right, because usually I don't probably eat and drink enough when I go riding. I just sort of a bit more of a speed merchant normally, so I need to wind things down a bit, take it steady, pace myself, and then just keep fueling the old body.
Because you've got the added challenge of being vegan. So that either limits, I suppose, you if you're going into shops, whereas a person who's non-vegan basically can cram anything in. But if you're sticking to your principles,
so there might be a bit less to choose from in some shops, but I'll be studying the notes that get circulated for the places where they may have a better selection, more to choose. But I'll obviously take a fair amount of things with me as well, just to top myself up in between.
So have you taken any advice from Tim as what to carry? I presume that you've got it honed down now, and you take exactly what you need rather than
and I know what I need to throw
than what you don't need.
The only thing left to decide is tent or bivy bag now, and that just depends on what the weather's going to be like. So I can take them both with me and decide on the morning.
The one thing you did mention the other day, actually, which it's changed my mind a little bit, is to take a little stove with me. I was thinking I might leave that behind, but then when you said, getting yourself going, at whatever o'clock in the morning, a coffee obviously helps you quite a lot, or late at night if you're trying to stay awake. So I think it might be worth a few hundred grams worth.
Yeah.
Just to keep the caffeine topped up.
And I hope that's not going to be instant coffee. You're going to take some sort of artisan coffee making device, just to keep the gravel dream alive.
That takes an AeroPress with him when he goes riding, and it's really nice coffee he makes. But it even takes a little coffee grinder with him. So he doesn't even
proper job.
And he does it, and it's like so much space in his frame bag. And he goes, I can't drink that.
I've got my V60 dripper that sits on top of the mug, but of course it takes forever for it to.
Well, I've got stainless steel Japanese. It's not a tetrahedron because that's 4 sides, isn't it? But it's 3-sided thing that clips together and it goes completely flat. Quite welcome.
Well, I am going to take Co-op Colombian fair trade instant coffee because it's
you've ruined everything.
I know it's quite terrible, but it's not bad. And you're really tired and you just want something that tastes like coffee that's full of caffeine.
There's people listening to this who have just walked out now.
I don't normally drink instant coffee. I normally drink really
nice coffee. What wood burner are you going to take with you?
I'm not going to take a wood burner, although I have got a little titanium
got the
wood
Kelly
burner.
I've seen it. Yeah. The mini.
We took it when me and David went camping. We had a tiny little fire all night to keep feeding little twigs to
A
it.
bonsai fire.
Yeah, it's not, but it take ages to boil water in that.
So talking of kit, well, first of all, how long do you think it's going to take you to do 300 kilometres? I know that the 600 kilometres. Sorry.
Twice as long as 300.
So, yeah, I'm just doing the half size of it.
Okay.
And I know that you've got to take the weather into consideration. Obviously, you'll check that out a few days before.
Yeah.
But minimum stuff, or what do you take?
I just take the minimum stuff, but it doesn't mean I don't take anything. I take what I need and nothing else. I take enough clothes so I can stay warm, but I don't take extra clothes. I just take enough.
So are we talking one pair of shorts?
One pair of shorts, because if you take two, you have a nice clean pair the first day, and then you take them off at night and you put them in your bag, and then the next day you've got a nice clean pair of shorts, but then you're left with a stinky pair of shorts, and then the next day you've got a choice of two stinky pairs of shorts.
I can see the logic.
And they don't change smell after 2 days, they stay the same. So you just live with one pair of riding everything's. One pair of socks, one t-shirt, one.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
even like waterproof socks. I mean, what happens if you
No,
get soaked or?
I wear merino thin socks. I've got some thick merino socks if it's cold, and I've got a thin pair of waterproof socks that go over the top of all that lot. So just one of everything.
Is that are you going to take that advice as well, David?
Well,
And reduce the wardrobe.
trying. Yeah, I'm tempted to take some sort of dry spares, but it's all stuff you've got to lug round and.
I take some dry clothes for sleeping in, which you so want to wear the next morning to ride in, because everything's stinky and damp and cold.
Yeah.
But you must take it off, because you've got to have a dry set of clothes to sleep in.
You probably
really
forget
got
by
to.
the top of the first big climb or whatever, once you've warmed up anyway, you're back in there.
Yeah.
Sweaty
It's
zone
like
anyway.
after 20 minutes you're okay again, but it's just not very nice getting.
So you're not
into it.
sleeping in the shorts.
No, can't sleep in the shorts. You get saddle sores if you sleep in the shorts.
Yeah, so I know that a couple of the 24-hour races I've done, there are a few teams that had one pair of shorts between 4 people.
No!
Yeah.
Go on.
So they used to, when they swapped the baton, they swapped the shorts as well.
That's so bad. I would definitely not do
Give
that.
us some credit, Gary.
Yeah, funny enough, they always got the best pitch on the campsite because no one wanted to pitch their tent by them.
So a good way of getting up in the morning, if you're wanting to not sleep very much, you set your alarm and then you're lying in a nice comfy sleeping bag that's hopefully warm on a nice comfy warm mat, and it's really difficult to get up. So to force yourself to get up, you take the cork out of your sleeping mat and it goes instantly flat, and then you're lying on a cold stony floor, and you can only stay there for a couple of minutes, and it's so uncomfortable you have to get up, which is a really terrible thing to do. It's absolutely hateful, but it gets you out of bed when you really don't want to.
Crazy. So this is a cycling podcast, so I suppose we'd better talk about bikes. And I think we've sort of planned a future video for the UK Gravel Collective YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. So yeah, we'll do a video about the bikes, but predominantly this is sort of a gravel bike channel, although I'd like it to be about any cycling. Are you taking a gravel bike? Are you taking a mountain bike? Are you doing it on an e-bike?
E-bike?
No.
There's a good idea. I don't have a gravel bike, so it's 29 now, hardtail, front suspension for me, flat bars,
Right.
12 gears.
And is that purely just because you haven't got something with skinnier wheel, or is it
Well,
the
I've done
terrain
it
that
twice, and
dictates
it's
that?
pretty bumpy.
Yeah.
Did it on suspension forks the first time, and then the next time I did it with some almost plus size wheels, 2.6s with carbon forks, and I was slightly beaten by it. But then I'm not used to riding a rigid bike. I've always been suspension, and there's loads of people do it on gravel bikes, and undoubtedly they're faster in places, definitely.
Yeah.
But other places less so. So it's a bit of a toss-up, really. Whatever you're comfortable with. You can do it on anything. There was a bloke there the one year, and he was on a like a 1980s Doors road bike with
Really?
skinny tyres,
Wow.
and he made it all the way around,
Fair
and he
play.
was smiling and happy when I saw him. But it was the first day, I suppose.
Oh right, you didn't see him after that.
I didn't see him, no, but he did make it. He
Okay.
wasn't that far behind me, you know.
Good
So
man.
it's so you can do it on anything. People have done it on a
So
tandem.
wasn't it Lance who said it's not about the bike?
Yeah,
But he was
it's-
taking loads of drugs.
Yeah, it's,
Allegedly.
Certainly
Oh
wasn't
no, he's
about the
admitted
bike.
it. He's
No,
admitted
it's
it.
not
We're all right.
admitted.
The lawyers aren't on the phone.
yeah, you can do it on anything as long as you're confident in your bicycle, and you can get around. It's just perseverance, really.
David, the last few rides we've been on, you've been on different bikes, trying things out, and they've all been sort of laid down with all your kit in sort of testing or training mode. But
Yeah.
have you pared it down to what you're going to use yet?
I think I've settled on my almost a gravel bike, but more of a monster cross bike. So it's kind of a drop bar mountain bike with. I have got a 100mm suspension fork on there as well, and some wide gravel bars for extra leverage. And the tyres I think will be 2.25 on the front, and 2.1 on the back probably.
And interestingly, you both got titanium frames.
Yes.
Is that? I know that it isn't, because that's the only one David's got. He's probably had 3 different ones since the weekend and sold them. But is that the reason it's more comfortable on a titanium?
Well, I've got steel hardtail, which I did the divide on, but it's more of an enduro bike than a sort of adventure bike. But I did it on that because that's the bike I had, and then and that was a 650B wheels. So I wanted a 29er when I got back, and I was looking around, and Sonda was making this broken road frame, and it happened to be titanium, and I can't tell any difference between titanium and my handmade steel frame. I can't tell the difference, but I like the fact you can strap bags on it without scratching the paintwork, and it seems pretty resilient to being thrown down hills.
Well, when I used to sell bikes, I used to say that titanium has the feel of steel and the weight of aluminium.
Yeah.
It's
It's not really any. My steel frame and this, there's not really any difference in the weight, I don't think, but looks nice.
But and then again, you are like strapping quite a few pounds of kit on it.
Yeah,
So.
it's 20. I packed it all up at the weekend with everything on, so with no food or water, which is like the standard weight you have to do, with a tent on, so that's in case I was 21 kilograms, which so you've got,
Which is what, 40 something pound?
yeah, so you've probably got
£46 thereabouts.
2 kilos of water,
That
let's
sounds
say.
heavier than 20.
So depending on
Bike-ish.
depending on the weather, you got 1 or 2 kilos of water to lug around with you, and 1.5 kilograms of food, sort of a stock amount to
Just
lug
for the
about.
morning, Tim.
It's just till we get to the first shop. But you don't want to run out of food, because
Oh dear, it's going to be scary when I weigh my bike then.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I can't get any lighter. I've looked at everything and thought, well, I could leave. I'm going to take 2 warm jackets, because I'm a bit of a sweaty rider, so I've got a synthetic one which I can ride in, and then a down one for the evenings, which I won't ride in. But I could cut that down and just say, right, I'm just going to take 1 jacket, but I'm not really into that. And you could just take a tinfoil bivvy bag instead of a proper bivvy bag, and that's how the front runners get the weight down, by just not taking anything. But they're really running the risk, and I'm just not comfortable doing that.
I think they're willing to almost have no sleep, pretty much, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some of those guys.
Yeah.
Whereas, well, some of us more mere mortals might need an hour or 2 here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you, David. You're quite competitive. It's an understatement. So I think that if you get the bug for this and it goes well, I think you'll end up being one of the people who sleep in a hedge for 2 hours and then go up and go again.
Maybe.
So talking of that, well, not sleeping in hedges, but what are you doing? Any specific training? I know you've started now to come out in the Tim style. And listeners, we've done quite short rides, probably 20 miles. and had a picnic, and Tim's arrived with a tent, his stove, at least 4 baked potatoes, and David started doing this now as well. Is that the way you train for this sort of thing?
Get used to the weight of the bike and how it handles and where everything is on the bike. So save faff time because if you say, "Well, I need my Swiss Army knife," and you've no idea where it is, you can spend 10 minutes looking for something, and then a bit later another 10 minutes, and all these 10 minutes they all add up. So you've got to be efficient with your stops.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get used to how the bike handles with sort of big bits of weight added onto it in various places that you wouldn't normally have, and it's I'm trying to tackle riding at a reasonable pace with that and how it handles. So it's quite good just to get a good feel for it, and so there's no big surprises just before the event. Thinking, oh my god, I can't ride this bike.
It's like a tank.
Yeah,
but you do get used to it surprisingly quickly.
Yeah.
And then after the event, you take all the bags off, and it's like you're on an e-bike. It's so brilliant. It's so fast afterwards.
Look out Strava then after the event.
And I'm doing a spin class once a week as well.
Oh, that doesn't sound like fun.
No, it's not. It's terrible. It's good.
I just can't do indoor cycling.
No.
During the lockdown, it's still under the table here. We've got the Wahoo electronic thing. I used it about 10 times. And I fell asleep almost. I was that bored.
Did you do it here?
Yeah, inside this little room. Yeah.
It must have been hot.
It was, yeah. Well, at the time we didn't know we were ever going to be allowed outside again. So.
Those are the days, eh?
Yeah, I remember that.
So talking of peril and not pandemics, but how long is this going to take you? This 600 kilometres?
600. I did it in under 3 days, both times before, near enough the same time. So I'd like to go a bit faster, but always the goal is to get to the end. That's the goal. So, but if the weather's terrible,
well, this is what I was going to say.
Then it's going to take.
If on night 2,
yeah,
if you're still out there and the weather's a bit iffy, and you're lying there in the tent, thinking, I've got 150 kilometres still to go.
Yeah.
How do you motivate yourself not to go? You know what? I've had a lovely time. I'm going to put my waterproof coat on and find the nearest Uber.
I just wouldn't do that unless I drank some of that poisonous water again. It's not in my nature to give up.
You're a bit stubborn.
Yeah, I'm stubborn.
Sound a bit
I've just
like me.
got to keep going. And the van's at the end, so I've got to get back. I'm not going to scratch. It's just, not just because it's hard. That's not really a reason to give up.
Yeah.
There's got to be a good reason. If you're going to give up, like I've got a broken leg or something like that.
That's not a good excuse. That's good enough.
Okay, 2 broken legs. You can pedal with 1 broken leg, but not 2. So, but it'd be nice to do it quicker, but it's hard because it's such a long way and there's such a lot of climbing. So we'll see. Don't really have too much of a plan.
Well, yeah. It's a 4-day Easter weekend, so I'm definitely hoping to get around and finish it within that. But it would be nice to do it in less than 3 days, I think. Not that I'm trying to compete with Tim. But,
so I did the last. It was pretty much the first night I slept in the same place the twice I've done it. And the
okay, so it's in a loop.
It's a loop, so I knew where I was going, and I stayed in the same woods on the first night, both times I've done it. And the second night, I was sort of 10 miles further on, and then the last night I didn't sleep. I just rode all day and all night and finished at 5 in the morning because I really didn't want to stop again. I thought, well, I've just got to keep going through the night now. But I was with people the second time.
Yeah.
So that was.
So I think it's quite a big entry this time,
there's
isn't it?
250 people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, quite a few people won't turn up. As all these
and I know you're not allowed outside assistance. Are you allowed assistance from a competitor or a fellow rider?
It's still outside assistance.
So I can't hand you an energy bar or.
Really, no, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Because if someone's really hungry, or I've been on things where people have been not able to move because they've run out of food, and I've given them food, and people have done the same to me, and it's just. I think the top 10 aren't allowed to break the rules, and really we're not allowed to. But I think, well, it's only riding a bike.
if someone's really in need, then of course you can help them, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's just a nice thing to do.
So you wouldn't say it's sort of trying to motivate people to go out on their bikes. It's not something a beginner should do.
Yeah, he really encourages new people. Chris is all about getting people that are new to it to come and try this route. And there's a shortcut halfway through. So if you don't want to do the whole ride, you get to York, load another GPX track. That takes you up the middle and then back across. So that cuts out quite a lot of the route. And he wants people to go that have never done anything before because it's such a good route. So he, in all the emails, he said, please encourage the new people, help them as much as you can. So it's definitely for inexperienced people.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good route. It is absolutely stunning.
You get that out there feeling.
Yeah, and there's loads of people. And you ask, if you need anything, you just ask anyone, and they would, I would say 99% of the time, people would help you. There's always going to be someone that's a bit of a plonker, though, isn't there?
So let's talk more about kit then. What are you taking with you? I know you're taking one pair of shorts.
Yeah,
but that can't
Not
be
between
all you're taking.
No. Long trousers and a long top. For if you get cold, waterproof trousers, waterproof jacket, waterproof socks, waterproof gloves. So lots of waterproofs that are reliable because it's a bit grim, isn't it, if you're getting soaked. What else is essential kit? Bum butter, comfy saddle. I think that's essential kit. Decent sleeping bag that's warm because, well, I suppose if you take a slightly crapper one, you will get up earlier because you'll be cold.
I think you probably need to expand on bum butter for
chamois cream for prevention of saddle sores. That's the plan. So I can ride sort of 50 miles or so, without worrying about it. But if you're riding day in, day out, you've got to really look after your buttocks and saddle sore. If you get a saddle sore, it's really terrible. They're so small and they're so painful. So it's got tea tree oil and some other things in
witch hazel and
all that kind of
soothing
thing. Yeah, so you put that in the morning and then at night time you've got to take it off, clean your bum, Sudocrem then overnight, clean all that off and then start again the next day.
So are you taking that in a...
the bum butter comes in little jars, so that stays in the top tube, and then little pot of Sudocrem, tiny little thing like that. You don't need a lot of it to help your skin heal overnight, and then.
So visions of one of those sort of gun applicators.
You don't need a massive amount. Let's say
like when you're masticing around windows.
You definitely don't need that much. But it is. Some people don't use it and don't have any trouble, but I always do because I've always had a painful bum if I ride a long way. That's just the way it is. So I know what to do and how to prevent.
Yes,
the pain.
well versed in how to look after yourself.
But that's the sort of non-glamorous side of it that no one tells you about until you get saddle sore and you go, why have I got a saddle sore?
You don't see that on Instagram usually.
No, you don't.
So are you taking a sawn-off toothbrush and...
No, I take a normal sized toothbrush, but a small tube of toothpaste. I don't need to do that. I take earplugs as well, a pair of earplugs. So if you're in a bothy and there's like 10 other stinky cyclists and they're all snoring their head off, you can't get to sleep. Yeah. So I always take a pair of earplugs, but they're not exactly heavy earplugs.
Anything different for you, David?
Well, I think all of that sounds pretty familiar. Yeah, it's looking after your underside as well. I've actually got a little sleep mask, so I've taken that bike packing before because sometimes just sunlight. Although on this ride we're getting up before the sun rises anyway, so
possibly
probably won't be needing that, I think. But just dry things to sleep in. Some fairly reliable waterproofs just in case the weather's rubbish. there's bound to be plenty of puddles and streams to cross and things like that as well.
Gates to open, loads and loads and loads of gates.
Yeah.
Which, if there are 200 plus people on the route, that might be a bit of a help if you can.
Yeah.
Maybe if you time it right.
Cajole other people to open the gate for you.
Pack.
Yeah. Oh, cheers. Thanks. See you.
And okay, we've talked about shorts. We talked about Sous de cream. And we probably need to talk about pooing, because
in the woods.
you haven't got a toilet there.
No.
Not taking one.
No. I'm gonna take one.
So what do you do? I mean, are you digging a hole?
You are digging a hole in the woods. If you can't get to the toilet, then especially in the morning, if you're sleeping in the middle of nowhere, the chances of there being a toilet nearby, unless you're in a bothy, sometimes they have loos, but there's not really any of those until you're in the last quarter of the ride, so you're not going to get there on the first night.
Yeah.
So I have a little shovelly thing I made and just dig a hole and
out of the way, and then do your stuff and
bury
cover it up carefully.
Al fresco poop.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot of food going into you. There's a lot of calories being consumed, so
it's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere.
What goes in?
What goes in? It's like one of those pencils you had when you was a kid, when you put a crayon in the top, one in the top, one out the bottom.
It's not an image that.
That's also the non-Instagram side of bikepacking.
And probably if there is 200 plus riders, you've got to find somewhere secluded.
Yeah, they get like 100 people going past you,
especially on the first night where people will all be
nervous.
Before the pack sort of spreads out, everyone's first day is going to be a lot of people in the same place, I'd imagine, or in groups perhaps.
Yeah.
As you split up into your time groups, because after the first day, you're in your speed group after the first day. We'll start with everyone's leapfrogging the first 6 or 7 hours, and then after the first day you'll see the same faces then for the rest of it.
Hopefully not the same bottoms.
Hopefully not the same bottoms. But you always make friends on these things. You always,
when you're
not from that,
stopping off,
because you're riding with people for probably 2 days or 3 days at the same pace, and you'll see the same people. And pretty much every event I do, I'll make a new friend. There's someone doing it this year that I met on the second time, and someone else that I met as well, and we're still friends.
So I know you said that the organiser wants to encourage new people, but what is the female-male split like?
Same as it always is, terrible. There's always loads more men than there is women. He's closed the male entries now, hasn't he? He said that's it, but he's leaving the women's entries open, so if any more want to join, they can. But it's very small.
We're all blokes here, so we don't have an insight. But why do you think women aren't as attracted to these, or what do you think can be done to make it more attractive?
I really have no idea. I don't know.
I think maybe it's starting to change. I think there's definitely more. You do see perhaps more women in the sort of media who are doing these sorts of things, which is really good. I think just to show that it is possible and it's a good thing to do and throw yourself into. So.
And there is women-only events as well. Lael Wilcox was doing something in Spain last year, and
it's just going to take a little bit of time, but I do hope that it does change and we get a much better.
Because I know, looking at all the stats for the UK Gravel Collective, and it's like 83% male people who interact with it, and I'm always looking for ways to expand that to other people. So
maybe it's the fact that you ride in and you can stay in hotels and B&Bs as long as it's open to them, pubs, whatever. You can stay anywhere you like, but maybe it's the fact that potentially you're going to be stinky for 3 days, and maybe men don't mind that so much. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest, why it is, or what we can do.
Okay, so we've gone through kit, we've done through clothing. Are you using flat pedals? Are you clipping in?
No, clips. I've been using clips for years.
SPDs.
More efficient.
No going back.
Keeps my knees in the right place, keeps my feet in the same place, so it's just metronomic like that. I've got some riding shoes with look, you've got to have shoes that are comfy for walking in, because there'll be considerable amount of walking up the hill when they get too steep. So you've got to have something that's comfy.
Bit of flex in the sole.
A little bit of flex. You don't want, like you said, no disco slippers.
Oh no.
But,
I'm leaving mine at home.
So you've got to have shoes that you haven't bought the day before the ride, ideally, and something you can walk as hours on end in. Perhaps not hours on end, but there will be walking, and you're probably not going to have another pair of shoes with you, so they've got to be comfy.
Yeah. So, what's the plan now until Easter? Because it's 8 weeks away.
Just ride.
Getting closer.
Just keep riding, ride, and you always get there, and you'll think everyone else's bike looks better than yours, and it looks lighter, and everyone else looks fitter than you. And it's just the way it is. But they're not. They're all just as nervous as you, and their bikes are just as heavy, and they're just as unprepared. But you can only do what you can do. If you've got to work, you can't spend 7 days a week riding the bike. We've got to go to work to earn a living. So we've got evenings in the dark and the weekends to prepare.
So to sort of wrap this up, what is the tip you give a complete beginner to long distance riding when they're approaching their first event?
Well, start. I don't know. For me, I guess it would be just to start small and just work your way up. I think get used to the feel of a bike, perhaps with some kit on it. Do the odd night here and there. Maybe just build the distances up. Go with somebody else who's done it a bit longer, perhaps.
Yeah.
Bit of a safety net.
Tim, have you got anything?
Just really the same as David said. Just start off small, build up, and then as you build the mileage and the distances you can do, and you'll just gain confidence, and that's it really. It's just about gaining confidence. First time I did anything, I was absolutely terrified, and once you've been on the bike for an hour, it's just riding a bike. Anyone can ride a bike. It's just a heavy bike.
Yeah.
That's it. So don't worry about it. Just don't worry about what anyone else is doing. It's your thing that you're doing. So just do it for yourself. Don't worry about anyone else.
I've not done any sort of event, but I know that the overriding thing on any bike ride is just to have fun.
Yeah, have fun. That's it.
The maximum amount of fun you can do, and just get on with it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, well, 8 weeks to go.
8 weeks. That's not long, is it?
I'm sure we'll be on many more rides where you disappear into the distance whilst on a 44-pound bike and I'm on half the weight, and you put me to shame. But anyway, thanks David, thanks Tim for
that was great.
Joining in. And this is the first, probably the second proper podcast, because I threw the first one in the bin and that was completely down to me. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and tune in for the next one. Cheers guys.